So first, Jakub will tell us something about this working group. He will introduce our work of this working group. And then Vincent will tell us about the first publication that they edited together, the tactile mapping cartography for people with visual impairments. And then after that, you will have chance to ask them questions. I will have a look at the chat, and you can also speak. You can just say your questions. I am also part of this working group, Inclusive Cartography. My name is Anna Petrovic, and I am assistant professor at Delft University of Technology. I will be moderating the session. But first, I want to give the floor to Jakub. He already shared the presentation. I see that it's working well, so the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Anna, and hello, everyone. So just very briefly, I'll go through our activities as a working group, and I will leave more time for Vincent and his talk on the book and all the aspects about its publication, which I think was quite interesting, and you might find it interesting, especially those who are used to publishing with publishers like Springer or Taylor and Francis, and that was for a commercial publisher, so it's a bit different. And and it was a huge collaborative work of over 30 people involved. So I think it might be interesting to you. But very briefly, this seminar series is just the first seminar of our working group, and for whatever reason, my video is a bit tilted. At least that's how I see it. So you can only see half of my face, even though I'm sitting right in front of the camera. So it's just the first seminar of the series. We're not going to take longer than an hour. And with Q&A section at the end. And stay tuned for next seminars. Our plan is to actually host them every second or third month. But without further ado, very briefly about our working group. So, change. Does it? It does. Great. So, our working group within the International Cartographic Association was formed 2 years ago in 2023 as our procedure, the Commission on Maps and Graphics for Blind and Partially Sighted People ceased its operation then. Although the commission itself, it used to be called different. The original Commission on Tactile Mapping, who was dealing with maps for people with visual impairments, was formed in 1984. So it's been a while since ICA, so the International Cartographic Association, was interested in the topic of maps for people with visual impairments. But we thought, okay, but there are lots of other groups, marginalized groups, both in a sense of cognition. So there are different groups of people with specific needs in terms of cognition, but also in terms of cultural, racial, geographical backgrounds. So that's what I thought. We thought, okay, let's try to expand the scope of these former commissions and form a new working group that is going to be more inclusive in a sense. So since then, I think we were pretty successful with organizing some events. So in 2024, we had our first pre-conference workshop that we organized as a working group. And then in 2025, there was another workshop just before the International Cartographic Conference. That was a joint workshop with other commissions, but we were the main organizers. And then there was this tactile mapping book that Vincent is going to talk about later on. So what we do is that, we have this guidelines, best practices, and so on in cartography or in geoscience in general. but some of these solutions, they are not working for specific groups of people. So how can we just transform these traditional mapping practices by having in mind or prioritizing inclusion, diversity, and accessibility? And so far, I think as a list, considering the list of active members of our working group, we're quite global. The coverage is quite global of the people who are involved, and by active members, I mean those who attend our meetings. And so if you're not yet our active members and would like to join, then you will have the chance at the end of this presentation to just scan the codes. And the common structure of the working groups and commissions within the ICA is that there are chairs, co-chairs, and vice chairs. So for our working group, we have two co-chairs. It's me and Vincent. And it happens that we are also both editors of the book that Vincent is going to talk about. And we also have Valdirene from Brazil, who used to be chair of the former commission on maps and graphics for the blind. So she's now acting as a vice chair of the group. And that's just that's also an information for you if you're into cartography and have an idea on forming your own group or commission. Then you're okay to do so. Just please take a look about the current commissions. Maybe you'll find something for yourself, or maybe we are you're of your interest and you would like to join with us. So what we do is that we have the regular online meetings every month or second month, and we have a website. And I forgot to attach the link, but it's going to be at the very last slide. So the common issue with websites is usually that it's created and then nobody updates them. We try to make them live. Marika and Crystal are doing a great job in trying to keep this website up to date. So it's a pretty good resource to actually learn about what we do. Very briefly to let you know about what were the topics at the events that we held in the past. So one of the workshops was the EuroCast that I mentioned. The topics covered were tactile map design in general, spatial accessibility, but also the usability testing and user experience focus. Because if you want to create inclusive solutions, then you really have to consult them with the end users groups. And unfortunately, neither I nor Vincent had any photo from this workshop, so that's an AI generated photo. You can tell by how well the people are aligned in the photo. That's not usually the case. If you look here, for example, these are not that well aligned, but it's a true photo actually. So that was another event that I didn't mention on the timeline, but it was because it's not us who are the main organizers, but Tai Sheng from China, who is our active member. He was one of the guys in charge of this event. So it was a workshop on mapping for inclusive and sustainable world. That was more student-oriented. So if you're a PhD student, perhaps, or a student who is doing such stuff, Tai Sheng said they are going to organize. They're planning to organize such a workshop next year as well. So stay tuned. Then we had this workshop in Vancouver this year before the International Cartographic Conference. A number of commissions involved, and an NGO from the US, Green Info Network. And the issue with many of the workshops that are organized is that that's just a bunch of lectures, and we wanted to go beyond that. So we actually had some workshop activities, hands-on activities, where groups were told to try to draft design guidelines for maps for specific groups of people or for specific sample persona, which was quite a challenging task, but a fun one as well. Because if we want to talk about inclusive mapping and all that, it would be nice to have these guidelines that are dated versions of the guidelines that exist in traditional cartography now. Yeah, there was the business meeting as well, but it's an administrative ICA stuff, so I'm not going to talk much about it. But as I said, this is just the first of the series of the seminars, and it's me and Vincent who are talking, who we are chairing this group. But what we want this seminar series to be an open platform for not only people affiliated with ICA, but especially for those who are not ICA affiliated from different disciplines and different fields of research and business and all that, who are into inclusive design in general. So I'm taking my opportunity to invite you for the next webinar already. And Brandon, who is a software engineer and is developing his own tools for sonification of maps for people with visual impairments. He himself is a person with visual impairments. And his presentation is going to be how to actually assess the accessibility standards. ADA, so it's the American standard, but I think this can be extrapolated to other countries as well. And his experiences on how to actually achieve that. And there's one disclaimer that I have to mention now. I know that either me or Anna, we sent Google Meet links for that meeting, but Brandon asked me if we could transfer to Zoom, because for him as a person with visual impairment, it's just easier and to operate on Zoom. So it's not going to be Teams. That this is something we discussed within our team later, and it's not going to be Google Meet, but Zoom for this time. We'll see how it will work in the future. And yeah, finally, one of the projects is the Tactile Mapping book. So Vincent is going to talk about it in a second. But before that, just very briefly, the road ahead. So just to give you an example of what our current activities are as a group. And I just want to point out that these are just highlights. It's not all that we are currently working on, but like each of the members is doing their own projects in the field, but this is something that we want to deal with as a group as a whole. So one of the stuff is that we want to actually conduct decent systematic literature reviews in the field. Say the idea is to have at least 2 different literature reviews. Maybe you would like to get involved in these projects. One of them is going to be, like cognition-based inclusiveness. So what has been done so far to make, maps and geovisualization accessible to people with diverse needs, but also deal with, all of these are very broad terms. So, we might as well have a number of these reviews conducted. So it's like geographical, racial, cultural inclusiveness, and the review protocol is being now developed. The idea is to involve AI in the process. So once the protocol will be ready, I think it will be easy to just transfer this protocol to these different topics. And yeah, everyone is invited to participate if willing to. Then another project is, and it's it's a project that I personally am running now. Is the TREP. So it's going to be, because the thing is that many people are not aware of the issues that people with visual impairments face, and the question is, okay, how can I start making such maps to help those people? So one of the efforts that we made to actually share this knowledge was the book, but then another one is to actually create a repository of not only the well-established symbols that work for different production techniques, but also design guidelines and existing projects, existing maps that people could download, but also upload their own. The idea is to create an open knowledge platform, and I hope it's going to go live first quarter next year. So stay tuned, and I really hope that people from our group and all the other researchers and practitioners in the field will share their designs and ideas to just create a platform so that people and in regions of the world that they didn't do any kind of tactile map so far. They would just go here, grab some stuff, and just create their own maps based on this knowledge. And finally, there's going to be a special issue in applied sciences. I know people from academia have mixed feelings about MDPI as a publisher, but I think it's a great platform to actually share your research in the field. So if you're interested in contributing to that, let me know. It should go live soon, so the call for papers should be open soon. And that's it. So if you guys want to get involved in our work, maybe you have your own projects that you would like to share with us, and I don't know, find collaborators, or you're interested in one of the topics that we are working now on and just would like to join, there's a QR code that you can scan to just thank you, Vincent. That's the link to the website. And we have 2 mailing lists, so if you want to stay informed, join our meetings, or just know about our activities, there are the 2 working mailing lists that you can join and just subscribe to them and to learn what we do. So that's basically it. And now I'd like to hand it over to Vincent whenever he's ready to just share his screen.
Yes. So maybe while I switch screen and try to share my screen, it's a nice idea if you are willing to share your region or continent or country. Let's not go further than that. Where you are from, because it's nice to know where you are from. And then I will try to share my screen.
Should I call everyone by name, or should? Yeah, I know your idea that you want to get the listeners active. So you could just type it down in the chat, or thank you, we have our first response. So if you could just put your regions or countries in the chat, it would be great.
Yeah, and at the moment I cannot see your I cannot see the chat, so it's very useless. I asked this for me, but I hope you will get an impression what you're seeing. So what I'm going to talk about is a little bit about our book, and especially not so much about the content of the book, but more about how the process was from the idea into materializing a book. So Jakub did all the introductions, so I'm not going to repeat this. To start at the beginning, in 2024, we were halfway our Dutch tactile mapping project, and it was, I think, May or June when I thought, okay, we still have another year, but after that year, what will be left? What will be our legacy? And then I thought, well, of course, we are currently creating a process where we can produce tactile maps in way more automated, way more efficient way than before. But instead of producing the maps and giving people just one map in hand, it would be much more efficient to share the knowledge about how you produce a map. So that was the idea of what's got it all started, the whole project. And then I thought, okay, but what kind of audience do we have in mind? So is it academia? Is it practitioners? Is it just interested people? So then we thought, okay, what's the main idea? Well, we want. Actually, there's a lot of has been a lot of research going on about how to produce maps, but it's still hidden in silos, so in academic silos, and doesn't reach many people, and also there are many practitioners who are working on the topic in their own countries, own organizations, and with own standards. So we want to share that knowledge. So what we did, we said, well, okay, we know why we want to do this. We know we want to communicate this to a public of interested people, so not so much people who already have access to the scientific databases and articles, but more people who says, well, I want to get my hands dirty, and I want to start working on the maps. And then we also needed to decide, well, knowing and having identified our audience, how do we want to communicate the message? So is it a maps heavy book, or will it be an image heavy book, or lots of text? And then we said, well, okay, we need maps, images, and text, but we also need three different kind of contributions, so different perspectives from researchers, also from people who have done case studies, but most importantly, I think also the perspectives from people who are blind or visually impaired themselves, and to tell their stories, because that's what we actually want. We want to motivate people to make information more accessible and communicate it in a way that people also get access to maps. So actually, I think that's what the idea was. And then it all started because one of our partners in our project, so one of was Esri, and they were involved, and they do have a publishing division. So for pragmatic reasons, we came into contact with Esri Press, and we started talking with them. Would it be a subject you would be interested in publishing the book? So we did an elevator pitch, and of course then the question was, did you already do some market research? So I think that's something also which is also important, because they want to know, so they want to know, well, if we are going to publish this book, how much interest will there be? Is it also feasible and viable as a product also for selling? So they also wanted us to discuss what's the potential public. So after that pitch, and after sending them our first table of contents with the idea and a short description, they thought, well, okay, this is an idea we might want to do more with. And then they needed more additional info. So we provided a detailed table of contents, did a line out and of the main parts of the books. And we also wrote some examples. So that's what we provided in that part. And then also something, I would say rather boring, but I know Jakub, of course, enjoys this stuff. Is also the contracts, because you're getting into a formal agreement with a publisher. From their side, there's also are many budgets involved. They're going to spend money on this, and so you need to have an agreement on what you're going to do. And also there's, of course, there are some safeguards which the publisher wants, but also you want to have. So you want, for instance, to mitigate risks. A publisher also wants to be sure that you are not copying content from the internet, but you have the intellectual ownership yourself. It's your original idea, or you have all the rights to the images you're using. So that kind of stuff is you have to negotiate in the contract. And then which was I think a bit revealing also to me and maybe also to Jakub was the difference in perspective you could have. So we, of course, we were starting as editors, and from the publisher had and they call it blanket contracts. So a contract which covers everything. So it's very generic, and it's for a publisher it's very convenient to use such a contract because you don't have to create contracts for each individual, but it's just a formulation of general things. But there were some formulations in the contract which were so generic, but also to people who with visual impairments. We said, well, okay, you're now saying people want to provide their image, but for someone who is visually impaired, they cannot check themselves if their image is used. So they need someone else also to point it out to them. So you need to be very aware what kind of agreements and what kind of what you put into the contract, because you also need to safeguard the rights of someone who's visually impaired. So that's something. And luckily, we had a very open and good conversation also with the contracts department of S3 Press. So we managed to work it all out, but it took some time and also some surprise on both sides about okay, so this is not, of course, this is not in your usual way of coping with and dealing with these things. But we need to make this work for everyone, and also need to be sure we safeguard the rights and also the personal sphere of people. So that was something we also learned. So, and then besides the contracts, we started working with a team and writing a book with over 30 contributors. So we have 11 chapters, and there were some chapters which were co-authored by multiple authors. And so we had full chapters, but we also had a different type of contribution, which was the perspective from people who worked on practical cases. So people from Poland, people from Korea, but also from Israel, from in Africa, and we also had a third type of contribution with the people with a visual impairment themselves. So those three types of contributions, so expert chapters, case studies, and personal stories, they create a very nice blend, but also complicated things, because we had to correspond with over 30 people from all over the world, also from Brazil. And that was only the part of people contributing to the book, because we also had from the publisher also a number of people who have contributed to the book. So in such a process, you also have an editorial manager, which actually guides you through all steps of the process, and actually is the person responsible for the begin to end process. And then you also have a content editor, someone who helps you to write your book, who can also help you to make your thoughts more specific, to says, well, okay, this is not clear, or this is breaking the logic of your book, or this is not a nice narrative flow. So we also had someone from S3 Press, Jenny Schut, who helped us writing the book. We also had someone else as a content editor who helped us to phrase the personal stories in native English, because we thought, well, especially for those stories, we wanted to have them to make an appeal to people. So there was also someone who joined the team. There was a copy editor. So after the writing and the whole structure was done and things were reviewed, then we had to go over the whole stuff again, seeing if there were things which needed to be rephrased. There was a graphic editor who helped us to redo some images, but also to do the layout of the book. And then after the writing and all the reviewing was done and the layout was done, there was also a marketing involved and PR. So I will come to that later also. And besides, you have all kinds of different people with different functions. You also need someone who has a more informal role. An informal role as a nudger. So someone who chases people, says, well, okay, your deadlines are reaching, but also you need, if before you even start to nudge people, you also need to make, to whet people's appetite that they want to contribute to the book. So that's also something you need to do in a process like this, especially since you have so many people involved. So we started in. So the idea was born in May 24. In July 24, we pitched the idea to Esri Press at the UC, and they were interested. And they said, well, okay, just start doing this. And then the idea, well, actually it was my idea, and other people thought, well, I was crazy, and maybe that's true. But luckily, this idea materialized. So the idea was we want to have the book published by the SVU's conference of 2025, because then you have a then you have the largest GIS conference, so you have a potential, you can reach a potential public for the book. And we also wanted to release the book at the ICA. So that was the deadline, and but we still needed to find contributors. So we started chasing and starting asking people from our network, do you want to contribute a chapter, or do you want to contribute a user study, of a case study, or do you want to contribute your personal story? And lots of people said, yes, well, I would be interested, and I'm also interested in the topic you are asking me to write something about. But exactly what are your expectations? So, and there you need to provide your clear instructions where you frame your own expectations. But there are also expectations and guidelines from the publisher. So they do have some examples about how a book could look like. And what we did, we conflated both our expectations with those from the publisher. So not to overload the contributors with lots of documents, but help them to work from one document. And we also provided sample contributions. So we provided a personal story, an example of a full chapter, and also of a user case. So that's what we did. And of course, while you start writing and working with so many people, there are always unforeseen things. as I said before, we were working with a very broad and diverse and global group of contributors. And then you sometimes have some misunderstandings, which are inevitable, I would say. And you can hear from my accent and also from Jakub that we are not native speakers. So language is sometimes a little bit different. And sometimes you do not grasp the specific sensitivities which you might sometimes have. And there are also sometimes some cultural barriers. So I'm Dutch, so we are very blunt and direct. So that are also things you need to deal with, and also that humor is a very not only a personal thing but also a cultural thing. So you also need to work your way through and around misunderstandings. And in those cases, it's always better to solve some things by a call, and not to go into lengthy email discussions. And then there was also something about while people were enthusiastic, they committed themselves to writing a chapter. There sometimes were some complications content-wise, that people were not able to do what they planned to do, and also some personal things, of course, especially with such a large group of people contributing. Then it's also inevitable that sometimes personal complications form obstacles on the road which you need to deal with. And there's also something which I think both Jakub and I really underestimated, is how much time it costs to edit a book like this. And my wife said after I finished the book, well, the next time you are going to do this, first talk to me and negotiate some time with me, because I don't want to happen this again. So that's the threat from my personal life. So there's also something unforeseen there. Then there's also about when you have finalized the book, everything has been reviewed, copy edited, put into a proper layout, it's being printed. Then of course there's also another important aspect. How do you get the news out to people that there is a book like we have produced? So you need to tell the message to people, and there of course you have 3 different roles. The publisher can help you out with because they do have their own channels to communicate about new publications. They provide new leaflets, but they also help us very much in promoting the book at the SVUC. We as authors have our own responsibility, and of course different organizations can also help you there. So for instance, also the ICA is able to help you with promoting the book. But there are also different ways, also different communication channels which you can use. So we did send the book out as a advanced reader copy, so to different journals, and asked them if they would be willing to review the book. We currently have produced, I think, 2 podcasts about the book, about the process, but also about the contents of the book. We wrote some magazine articles, and of course we promoted the book at some conferences, and we promoted it at a booth also at a conference. So that's a bit about the book, and I think I'm also almost there yet. I will post the link also in the chat, and I think we are. If I can get my mouse back to working again, then yes, I think we can open the floor to questions.
Thank you both, Jakub and Vincent, for these great presentations. I'm looking at the chat. There are no questions written, but if you do have a question, you can just say it out loud, or if you have a problem with the sound, or if you don't want to be recorded, you can also write in the chat and we will read. Yeah, we got the link as well. Maybe I can start with one question for Vincent, just to give people more time to think. How was it for you to work with all these different aspects of the book? Because you described the process, but you also said that there were personal stories, but also some. So there were more technical aspects, or more from cartographic, or from the perspective of a cartographer, but also from the user, up to these personal stories. So those are very different approaches. How was it for you to deal with it and to put it all together in one book?
Yeah, well, what I really liked is, well, with the idea started with, okay, what do you need to understand when you want to produce a book on tactile mapping, or when you want to work on tactile maps? And then we thought, okay, well, you need, of course, a basic understanding of maps. So why do we produce maps? How does haptic perception, so perception by touch, how does it actually work? Because that's what you need to do if you want to produce tactile maps. And how is it different from visual variables? So and slowly we were peeling off the onion, so to say, and guiding people to the whole process of producing maps, but not only the technical aspects, but also the aspects of map design, of getting users engaged, and how do you, what kind of aspects also do you need there, but also the media. What kind of media can you choose from when you want to produce tactile maps? So I think that was really really nice, also to have so many different people involved from so many expertise. And then what I also really liked is having those case studies showing how in different countries, in their own with their own backgrounds, how people implemented tactile maps. And for me, the cherry on top, or the icing of the cake, is the personal stories, because that's actually where the whole idea becomes flesh and bones. So how does spatial cognition and maps, how do they make a difference for people? And I think one of the stories, so one is from Ellen, from the Netherlands, and her story, she starts the book and she ends the book. She starts with a story about how difficult it was when she became blind, and then she ends the book with what difference it makes having spatial awareness, having access to maps. So I think that's something, that's just one example of how maps can make a difference for people. So I think those three different aspects, I think it was really enriching also to me to learn from so many people this story.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's very nice. Anyone else? Yes.
Very briefly to add to what Vincent said, I think it's also really cool when you read these stories and then you just learn that the amazing stuff these people do, because many people tend to think that, when you lose your sight, you basically staying at home and doing nothing, right? And many of the people who wrote the stories I met in my life, it's just that some of them, for example, they use 3D printing to print stuff for themselves. So they design the models themselves without vision using like keyboard and parametric modeling, and they 3D print stuff, or they just travel and they navigate when traveling with somebody else in the car, something like that. That's just pretty unbelievable when you hear about it. But once you hear about it, but then it turns out like yes, they can do stuff, and it's just a matter of rehabilitation and the possibilities that there are for those people, because obviously it differs from country to country, from region to region, even from city to city. And this is the case in Poland. Like if you live in a big city, then there are plenty of resources. You can go to the library, just rent some ebooks that you can use with your screen reader, or audiobooks and stuff like that, which is not possible in smaller cities. So yeah, it was great that we had these voices heard from different parts of the world, and see there is a demand, and it's a niche topic, but the demand is great for such solutions.
Thank you, Jakub, for this additional insights. We got some questions in the chat in the meantime, so Alan asked if you could share the overview of the contents of the book, and then Vincent said, I think the PDF that you shared is the content of the book, right?
Yes, it's the content of the book, and it's from the same website which I already posted the link to. So there are more sources there which can be found. There's also a sample chapter.
Yes, maybe you can briefly share it on the screen and say something about it.
Yeah, I will try.
And after that I will read the post from Victoria.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Yes. Let's share. And then, oh, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry. Let me go back to this one. I think it's this one. Yeah. So I see, here you can see the table of contents. So as you can see, we start with a foreword and an introduction. So there's a personal story. There are chapters, but there are also and there are case studies. So the first, so we have divided the book in 5 different parts: introduction, a part about maps and perception, about the relevance of maps, but also understanding through touch. Then part 3 is about designing tactile maps, so map symbol design, map design, and also generalization for tactile maps. We have part 4 is about users and education, because how do you involve users? So user-centered research and inclusive design. How to learn geography when you're blind, so a chapter from Brazil. A chapter about training in orientation and mobility, so that's also the rehabilitation part. And then the 5th part is, okay, how do we come to output which is really reliable? So about accessible media, which kind of resources do you use? Or media do you use? Swell paper, UV printing, or well, there are many in 3D printing. There are many different methods there, and a chapter on methodical reflection, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel every time, but you want to learn from lessons from others, and you want to make it repeatable. So, and then there, of course, is our conclusion and the personal stories which blends through the whole book. So let me see if I can stop sharing. So I think we are back again, I hope.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. This was really insightful. I hope it helped also our participant to get a better overview. of the book. And then we got an interesting message from Victoria, who is an associate professor at the University of Calgary in Canada. She runs Accessible Mapping Research Lab at the University of Calgary. And she just shared her publication in Progress in Human Geography, her paper, Disability GIS. So there's a link there if anyone is interested. Of course, we are all interested. Sounds very, very interesting for everyone here. She said we publish our Zotero library open access for anyone interested in research at the intersection of GIS and disability. So there is the link here, and she is part of the ICA participatory mapping working group. So that's very nice to maybe connect also these two working groups in the future. I don't know if you have already some experience in exchange.
Yes, I already met the guys in Vancouver, and we even started planning some joint workshop for the next conference, because obviously our aims overlap. So
of course, yes.
Thanks,
very nice.
Thanks for sharing this, Victoria.
Thank you. Good. Are there any last questions maybe from the audience? We have also yes, one last comment. We have interestingly two of the contributors are supervising our master thesis, so that's very nice. So I would probably borrow their copy soon. That's very nice. So then we have a master student who is supervised by two authors. Thank you also for that comment. Okay, I think this meeting has the limit from for 1 hour, right? So we should wrap up soon so that we don't accidentally just run out of time. But so I would like to thank everyone for participating. I would like to thank our speakers for their very nice presentation and for opening this seminar series. I hope it will become even more popular, that we will have even more participants and different speakers, and hope to see you also in the next seminar.
Thank you. Yeah, stay tuned.
Thank you.